I got this old laptop, it is 10 years old and even back then it was pretty slow. I was wondering if installing a Linux distro could give it a new life. The performance has been improved. Oh yeah, and this Explorer has tabs. I haven't really seen any inconsistency. Windows has to learn a lot from this. Before we begin, I invite you to subscribe and leave a comment if you like the video. I always heart comments. Hello world, Bytev here. I was looking through some old boxes and found this old family laptop. It is about 10 years old. I looked up the model and it is a Lenovo G485. This model came out in 2012 and we bought it around that time. We're at the end of 2021, so almost 10 years have passed. Come on, allow me to round it to 10 years. My brain is not going to forgive me and nobody's watching a video of a 9-year-old laptop, okay? Let's continue. I remember watching YouTube videos on this and playing a lot of purple plays as well. I actually have a very fun anecdote with this laptop, but if you want me to tell you, leave a comment. Let's talk about the specs. It has a dual-core 32-bit AMD C60 processor. I bet you didn't know that one. Neither did I. Has 2GB of RAM and a hard drive of 500GB. Even back then it was pretty slow. It came with Windows 7, but years later someone decided that it was a good idea to update it directly to Windows 10, and that made things way worse. It took like 20 seconds to open the start menu, so that gives you an idea of how performance was. Let me show you the laptop. At the top, we have the Lenovo logo. At the left side, we have a really big, broken and crooked mess. I know, an acquaintance dropped the laptop by accident and this happened. But trying to ignore that, we see the VGA output, the Ethernet port, an HDMI output and 2 USB ports. At the right, there's the charging port, a USB 2 port, a CD or DVD reader, and the headphone jack. At the bottom, you just find the battery and some screws to open the computer. I actually opened the laptop itself to see if I could fix the problem with the hinge, but I was not able to do it because the plastic that made the screws stay on their place broke. I basically wasted all my time, but at least I cleaned the insides. What you are seeing right now is part of a 20GB collection of videos of me opening the laptop thinking I could fix it. Now we got a problem. I was planning on installing Linux Mint on this because I have tested it some time ago with a virtual machine and actually liked it a lot. The issue is that Linux Mint is dropping support for 32-bit CPUs. We could install a previous version that supports these processors, but to be honest, I did not quite like the idea of having an old version. This reduces our options a lot because more popular distros now only support the 64-bit architecture. That is why I looked for distros that had 32-bit support. I found a website that you'll have in the description, and this one, Zorin OS Lite, was listed. If you didn't know, Zorin OS is a Linux distribution based on Ubuntu that focuses on performance, being beautiful and easy to use. An excellent replacement for Windows. I had heard good things about Zorin OS before, so it caught my attention and I decided to choose this distro. Now, I know that in the comments I am going to have a lot of Linux gurus telling me that I should have installed this or that, but I really needed the laptop to have a familiar and easy UI. Non-tech savvy people are going to use it mostly. It was not really for me. This is the official Zorin OS website. Let's go to download Zorin OS. And as you can see, we have 3 different versions. This table shows you the differences between them. The one that we're gonna pick is Zorin OS Lite. So let's go here. I am going to download the 32-bit version because, as I told you, the laptop has a 32-bit processor. And as you can see, the download has already started. It's a 2.1GB file. Now let's go over to how to install Zorin OS. You're gonna need a computer and a bootable USB. You can back up your data if you want, but that is optional, and we're not gonna do that because I've already done that. We have to download Balena Etcher, that is a program that is going to help us to flash the ISO file to the USB flash drive. Let's click on download for Windows. Connect the USB to the computer. Let's install Balena Etcher. I agree. Then let's click on Flash from File and select the Zorin OS ISO file. Now let's select the target drive. Be careful and only select the USB. It may ask for administrator permissions, and now we just have to wait. Plug the USB to the device that you want to install it on. I'm gonna press F2 to access the BIOS. Here we are. If you're wondering how I am recording the BIOS, well, I bought a capture card, actually the cheapest I could find on Amazon. So if you want a review of that product, let me know in the comments. Let's go to the boot section. Here, disable the UEFI boot, because if you keep it enabled, you could face some issues when trying to install a Linux distro. This one is our bootable USB. What we're gonna do is move it to the top so that the laptop boots from the USB and not from the hard drive where we have Windows installed. And to move it, let's press F6. That's it. Now press F10 to save and exit. Now it should boot into the Zorin OS installer. It is going to automatically install in 3 seconds, so you don't have to press anything. Let's begin with the installation process. Here in the desktop we have an icon that says Install Zorin OS. Double click it. Select your language. I am going to select English. Select your keyboard layout. With this button you can detect your keyboard layout. Choose your wireless network. You can finish the installation process without an internet connection, so do not worry. I would recommend you to check these two first options to install the updates of your programs and software. Now here, most of the time you're going to want to check this option. These are optional, but with this one you can modify or resize the partitions by yourself. It is kind of a more advanced mode, so if you are a basic user, I would recommend you to just leave it with this one. Select your location. Personally, I am going to choose Hyrule. Enter your computer's name. Because I am not going to be the only person using it, I am just going to call it user. I know, a pretty good name. You can choose a password. I am going to type a very bad one, but do not do that. It finally finished. It took like 20 minutes. So I am going to restart and I'll see you in a minute. Here we are. As you can see, this looks like Windows. Here you have your taskbar, your desktop. At the right we have kind of like a status bar with a calendar, a volume and media panel, the battery icon, a Wi-Fi panel, and even a notification panel with Do Not Disturb. In the taskbar we have the Start button, Firefox, the File Explorer, and the Software Store. Now let's open the Start menu. And it looks like this. You have categories at the left, and here at the right you have your user, shortcuts for the home, documents, downloads, music, pictures, and videos folders. Here you have another shortcut for the software manager and a shortcut for the settings. With this button you can lock your computer, and with this one you can see the power options like shut down or restart. First, let me show you the File Explorer. The performance has been improved. And you can see that it looks a lot like you would expect a file browser to look like. At the left, you have your devices and some locations, and at the right, you have your files and folders. Here above, you have the path that you're currently at. And also, you can notice that this file system uses forward slashes instead of backslashes like on Windows. This makes way more sense in my opinion. Here you can select, right click. Oh yeah, and this explorer has tabs. Look at this. And now we have two tabs here. One for the user folder and one for the videos folder. The home folder stores what would be like the user folders from Windows. Here you can have the desktop, documents, downloads, music, pictures, a public folder, templates folder, and videos folder. The shortcuts are pretty much the same as on Windows. For example, I am going to press Ctrl A and this selects all the folders. I am going to press Alt F4 and this closes the current application. It is very similar to Windows. I am going to be comparing it a lot to Windows for the people that are not very familiarized with Linux. And here we have the software manager that is also the same one as this icon. Some apps do take a little time to load, but consider the specs and also consider that I installed it on a hard drive. For me, the improvement is very impressive. This was basically a pain to use before installing Zorin OS. We got different categories. You can see audio and video, communication and news, productivity, games, yes, games, graphics and photography, and some add-ons. You can see that we have Audacity here, and you can also find some open source programs. So if you want to install something, you just look for it. It is kind of like a mix between an app store and a software manager. I don't know, so let's look something for like video. We have a ton of apps that are related to video. As you can see, we have a video downloader, even Skype, and some other ones. If you do not find the app that you're looking for here, you can also install it from the internet. But keep in mind that you can't install 64-bit apps on 32-bit devices. If you have a 32-bit device, you may be a little limited. Now let's go to installed, and we can manage and remove all of our installed software. And you also have updates. Let me show you the categories. In accessories, we have an archive manager, the calculator, a file search, a dictionary of characters, a clock app, the file manager, a fonts manager, the on-screen keyboard, a screenshot tool, the terminal, a text editor, and a program to burn CDs and DVDs. I am just going to show you certain apps that I think you will use. Let's go and open the calculator. You can see that it has different modes. We have a basic mode, an advanced mode that also supports conversions, a financial mode, the programming mode, and the keyboard mode where you can type your operation. So let me type something simple. 1 + 1 2. Okay, it works. Let me show you the text editor. You can see that the text editor has a side panel, and at the right is where we actually type. So let me type something. This program also supports tabs. We can open different documents and they will also appear at the left side. In the games section, we have Solitaire, a card game. I haven't played it, I don't know. Minesweeper, what looks like some games similar to Tetris, and Sudoku. I am going to test this one because I really like Tetris. Let's start. You move the block with the arrow keys, and with the up arrow key you rotate the block. With the down arrow key you make it fall faster. Okay, I do see a little stuttering here and there, but it is not a big deal. I mean, it has Tetris, this makes it way better than Windows already. Now I lost on purpose. I got distracted and spent more time than the one I would like to admit, so let's keep going. In graphics we have a document viewer for PDFs and that stuff, GIMP that is kind of like a free open source alternative to Photoshop. I actually use it for my thumbnails. LibreOffice Draw that again is for drawing, obviously, an image viewer, and a program to scan documents. I am going to launch GIMP just so you can see how the performance is. But again, keep in mind this laptop's hardware. Well, it took like 20 seconds to launch this app. It was not a lot actually. I'm going to create a new document. There is a little stuttering and delay. I wouldn't do a lot of heavy image editing here, though. In the internet section we have Firefox, Remina that is a software for remote desktop, Thunderbird Mail that is, well, a mail client. I am going to open Firefox. I am going to look for something totally not spammy. Loading heavy websites like YouTube does take some significant amount of time. By the way, we are almost at 900 subs. Thank you. I'm just going to look for something simple to see how long it takes. Well, this wasn't as bad actually, but this could be because of my Wi-Fi connection, so do not take this test too seriously. In the multimedia category we have Cheese that is a program to take photos and videos, the Parole media player that is for playing audio and video files, PVT that as far as I know is a video editor, a volume controller, and the CD and DVD burning application that we have seen before. I am going to launch Cheese to see how the camera works or if it works at all. Okay, it works. You can see my hoodie here. I am not going to do a face reveal yet because I worry about your eyes. Now let me take a picture here. It has a timer. And well, it works. I am going to record a video. Hi. By the way, this is a 0.3 megapixel camera, so it is bad, obviously. I mean, all laptop webcams are kind of bad, aren't they? In the Office category we have the Document Viewer and LibreOffice that is an alternative to Microsoft Office. We have here Base that is the alternative to Access, Calc that is the alternative to Excel, Draw that is not the direct alternative to any Microsoft Office program as far as I know, Impress that is the alternative to PowerPoint, and Grider that is the alternative to Microsoft Word. I am going to launch Grider because I think it's the one that most people use. I am going to type something. We can apply different styles like bold, italics, underline, strike through, change the font color and the size, amongst some other things. We can also insert some other type of content like tables or images. I am going to insert a table. The preview actually has more cells than Word, a small improvement. I mean, this pretty much works like Word, and that pun was not intended. So I guess that it'll be enough for most people. If you were wondering, you can also open Word documents on Grider and save as Word documents. In the settings category we have all the settings that are present on the settings app. If I launch the settings app, we will find the same sections. You can tweak the appearance of Zorin OS. I have only icons selected, but you can also select to show the title of the apps in the taskbar. We can also add shortcuts to the desktop. You can align the title bar buttons to the left if you're kind of like a macOS guy, or to the right. You can also change your accent color and your background theme. I am going to change it to dark. And I'll change the accent color to purple because I think that purple is underrated. I don't know if you have noticed, but the window and the icons are now a little more purple than they were. You can also choose specific icons and applications like the window manager. You can change the general font, the font for window titles, and the font that is used for the monospace text. And finally, the system category has a bulk rename tool, a disk usage analyzer, a task manager, and a file manager. I am going to launch the task manager. We have all the processes listed here, so I can right click here and terminate any process that I want, but I am not going to do that, of course. I haven't really seen any inconsistency, and that is kind of impressive. Windows has to learn a lot from this. Now let's talk about the battery life. To be honest, it is kind of bad, but I mean, it is a 10-year-old battery. I am lucky that it is not exploding. In conclusion, I do think that it is worth it to install Zorin OS or any other Linux distro on an old computer. It'll really give it a new life. That was all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you subscribe, I invite you to leave a comment. I always heart comments. Goodbye world, see you in the next one. I've been recording for almost an hour here talking to you, and my voice is destroyed.